Okay, so today I am joined with my friends Gavin and Alise. We will be discussing Amari, the first book, in spoiler details. And then next week, on Tuesday, we'll be discussing Amari Book 2 in spoilers details. I hope y'all have read the book and want to discuss with us. But before we do that, do y'all want to introduce yourselves?
Okay, awesome. Hi, I'm Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin. I read a lot of stuff and I love middle grade, so I feel like with Amari and the Night Brothers, it's like a great book for me to discuss with you guys today because it's just so good and I love it so much. So like my kind of thing is that I'm kind of a little bit too childlike and playful, so I think middle grade is like my perfect kind of area, but I do read a bit of everything as well. So I like, yeah, I think there's probably nothing I wouldn't read, but I would say middle grade is my comfort.
Yeah, you're kind of the middle grade pro.
I try. I do try, but yeah, it's kind of, it's just like such a comforting genre of books, like age range of books that I feel like I just never want to escape. So, and we'll probably talk about why like Amari's so great as a middle grade too, and there's just lots to talk about. So yeah, that's me.
Yes. Alise?
Hi, yes, my name is Alise, and I mainly read young adult and new adult, but I've been trying to spread my horizons lately, and I recently last year got into fantasy, and this is my first middle grade book that I'm aware of that I've read. And
Ever?
Yes. Other than I think, yeah, I actually bought some new ones that I'm hoping to dig into. I bought one middle grade last year that I didn't get to yet. But so I loved it. I'm hooked now. And I've also, yes. So I love this story in particular. There's a lot that I resonated with, while reading it. And, I've also gotten into manga. A lot of that is due to Murphy. So yeah, but I've just been getting into fantasy, and this is my first middle grade, so I'm super excited to talk about this book.
So by the end of this, we're gonna convert Gavin to manga and Alise to middle grade.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
Yes. So middle grade for me is, I mean, I've read plenty of it. You know, I read Harry Potter and Percy Jackson and stuff like that, but only recently have I been really branching out more and more, and I'm loving it. It does whimsy like no other genre does. That feeling of like getting lost in another world that's just at your fingertips. Like you could stumble through a doorway any moment and be somewhere else. Middle grade does that like nothing else I've been able to find. And yeah, Gavin, like you said, it's such a comfort read. So Amari has been so great because it feels like, I know you did an interview with the author, and he said that Men in Black was a big inspiration. And it feels like it has all that nostalgia feel that middle grades that we grew up with have, but at the same time, it has that Men in Black sort of feel as well, which I think is just such a unique thing. And I have loved reading through these books. I haven't heard, Alise, what you have thought about them.
I loved them. I didn't know what to go into, really. I briefly read the synopsis before. But if it's something that I haven't touched a lot, I kind of like to go in as blind as possible. So I had an idea. And also last year, I don't know if y'all watch Bookish Realm, but she had a video and she had mentioned it and she raved about it. So I had been wanting to read it, but I hadn't got to it. But I think the best word to describe it is whimsical. I think you used a similar word. And I will say we jumped into a lot of different worlds and meeting people and branches to the story very fast. But the more that I thought about that, at first it bothered me, but now I understand that it kind of needed that because that's what she was living and that's the pace at what she was taking everything in. But
sure.
Yeah, I think Amari was just written so well, and I really love what the author did with her character. So yeah.
And Gavin, I know you're a fanboy.
Oh my gosh, I decided to reread this literally for the fourth time today. I didn't read it 4 times today, but my fourth reread was today. I thought, you know what, it's been a little while since I last read it. I love it so much. Let's do a reread. Let's make sure I refresh my memory. And everything sticks. I feel like this is such a memorable kind of like middle grade, and it's one of those things that, especially since Baby Olsen, he said that Amari like just fell into his head, you know, like she came fully formed and like she just appeared out of nowhere, and I love that because I feel like a kind of thing that happens that naturally to an author is like you can feel it through like the story. Like she is like a real person. She comes across and she shines through the plot. Like I love the plot. Like Murphy with you saying about like the Men in Black inspiration. Like you're totally saying it. That's what keeps the story like so exciting and motivated. But with Amari, like as a character, like I don't think like I feel like everyone can relate to her. You know, it's just like she embodies so much. And this is what I love about middle grade is when I see a character like Amari shine, because yeah, middle grade is for everyone, you know, like young adult and adult books don't really capture the same kind of essence because they're kind of not accessible to younger readers, but middle grade is literally for everyone. So I feel like Baby Alston was able to capture that middle grade, but also make it feel like something that a lot of adults could read as well, and young adults, like everyone can read it, you know. So that's the main thing. The appeal and just how incredible. I don't know why I held it up the entire time either, but
because you're a booktuber.
It's just like an impulse now.
Wait, now I feel left out. I loved Amari. It was really good.
You own it, yay!
Perfect. So, that's kind of our spoiler-free, I guess, spiel. Now diving into spoilers, I want to be able to discuss our favorite parts and our favorite moments. So Amber, Alise, do you have a summary for us in case anybody needs a refresher on what happened in book 1?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, we have Amari. She's this really intelligent, good-natured 13-year-old girl. And her brother, Quentin Peters, is missing. And Quentin has an excellent reputation in his city. He got into a bunch of Ivy League school. He's a leader in his community, and he's very well loved. However, he does come from a more low-income neighborhood. And so when he goes missing, the investigation of his case kind of leads a lot of the police officers and investigators to think that he was likely doing something more negative that led to him missing. And Amari does not believe that. She trusts in her brother. She knows that's not what he's about. And she realizes that she may be correct when she goes into there's an event that occurs that leads to a briefcase in her closet. And that briefcase shows her that she's been nominated to attend this supernatural school. She's never heard of it, but her brother's connected to it. And she realizes if she goes there, she can probably find out where he has disappeared to. But when she gets there, it is a whirlwind of adventure. She sees all kinds of new creatures and beings, and she learns about herself and how she has something within her that is actually illegal. And she's trying to compete with multiple very wealthy students who have grown up in this world in order to get a part of a group that will lead her to her brother. And she has to battle all sorts of people within her in this supernatural school and outside of her supernatural school to save her brother. And this amazing story digs all into that, and we find out what happens at the end.
So did you have some favorite characters, some favorite scenes that you want to dig into?
Wow. Can we go like straight into spoilers?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, do it.
Awesome, because I mean, obviously the obvious choice for favorite character is Amari. Like she embodies like so much.
She's amazing.
She is amazing. She is Amari amazing. You know, she has like so much appeal to so many people. And I worked as a bookseller for a long time, and when Amari came out, there were so many, not just like young girls, but young boys as well. And usually the problem with getting boys to buy books, or like getting boys interested in books where a girl is the main character, is like it's a huge problem, and like a lot of boys don't want to go for it. But with Amari and the Night Brothers, as soon as like you tell them about Amari and you tell them the story, like so many people wanted to buy it. And it was, you know, the appeal of Amari as a character and what she goes through, what she learns, what she discovers. But I will say, I love Amari, but I don't think she's quite my favourite character in the first book. I think my favourite character might actually be Dylan, like in the first.
Really?
Okay.
You too?
Okay. I loved their friendship. I really did.
Oh, yeah.
I really enjoyed it. And he played me. He did
Me
play
too.
me.
Me too.
And it hurt. I literally was like, gosh, like that felt like he did it to me. But I did enjoy their connection. I thought the author did such a good job with building them up. I loved it. I was a little fan of Dylan. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. No, me too. Well, because, she goes from a very isolated place to a new world that's magical and amazing and still being othered.
Yep.
And then Dylan is the one, Elise. I love Elise. But Dylan is the one that, becomes her partner and teaches her so much and teaches her how to be able to control her magic and grow in it. Like, there's so much greatness from their relationship. And I was so excited to have this really, really strong bond between them. And I saw his betrayal coming, but I'm a fool. And I went to pre-order book 2, and I saw him on the cover, and they looked friendly together. So I was like, oh, no betrayal.
So that kind of got you. See, I'm the opposite. I didn't see
You
the
didn't
betrayal
see it coming?
No, and I'm a novice. I'm not an expert in middle grade, but I've read a lot.
You are,
right?
though, Gavin.
But like, even this surprised me. Like, why couldn't I say that? I didn't say that. It pulled the rug right out from under. And I think that's probably why. Yeah, like, I think that's why. Like, Dylan is like one of my favorite characters. He was just so complex for like him being in this story. And even then, like, and I guess because we're talking about spoilers, that because he does betray her, but then he also kind of doesn't want her harmed, and like, you can see that he does care for her, and he's still like the great thing about the villains in like Amari, like with the Knight brothers and I think it was Moreau. I don't know how to pronounce it. I didn't listen to like the audiobook or anything, so everything I say is like physical, like what I read, so I'll pronounce everything wrong.
No, that's right.
Moreau. So like with him, like, he talks about like how magicians are like treated for like this long time, and then it's kind of been that ideal's been passed down to Dylan, like, oh yeah, we have been treated so badly. And then with Dylan, he thinks he's right, and I think a good villain is a villain who thinks they're the main character and like thinks they're doing the right thing, but even though it's like not the right thing, like we totally get that it's not right. Amari knows it's not the right thing, but like he's like, yeah, we've been treated so badly, join me, like we need to do this together. And she's like, no, because I'm a good person, so I think what I like about the villains in it is that you can see it from like their perspective rather than just being, oh, they're just evil for the sake of being evil, kind of thing.
I think that I kind of felt that he was going to not be the best character when he gave her that spell book and he wanted her to look at the dark magic spells, and he seemed really excited about that, and she was like, whoa, what are you doing? Like, calm down. And I had a feeling, but then he did so many things to show her like the trust, and I think in a way he didn't feel like he was betraying her, because even when they went to that doctor's house and we find out it was Moreau and they were Dylan and Moreau working together, I think that he still thought it was right because he's like, we're a team, and he considered. And in a way, I don't know, I feel weird because he is wrong, like, for the way he's going about it. But the magicians really are treated kind of terrible.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I'm like,
absolutely.
I don't, obviously, like, a lot of the darker magicians handled it poorly, but I do get where his ambition comes from in that situation. So he was
Absolutely.
a really layered character that I battled back and forth with. But I could talk about Dylan forever just because I love his dynamic.
No, I completely agree with you. I feel like the system does have to change.
Yeah.
Like, he's not wrong that this is something has to give here. And his love for Amari is like, he wanted her to join him. He wanted her to be protected. He wanted her to not be hurt in that final scene with Moreau. There's so many scenes that I could point to where I would say B.B. Alston has just done a phenomenal job of writing nuanced, layered concepts, themes, characters that aren't just like straightforward. He really digs deeper and makes their motivations and their reasoning clear.
I completely agree.
Yeah, and it's as well. It's like it's not just like just a singular character. It's always kind of like a two pairing. So we have Amari and Alise, we have Amari and Dylan, we have Amari and Laura as well. Like there's kind of like always these two kind of things going on at once with like two different characters, and I just feel like Baby Austin writes like character dialogue like so well, like the way that they interact with one another. They always seem to be like, say for Laura for instance, she can come across as like just a two-dimensional bully, especially in like the first one, but then you see, and we see through Amari the kind of breaking down of Laura's character through Amari, and Amari sees like say the Van Helsing family dynamic and what's going on in her family life, and like what's making Laura like kind of treat Amari the way she is. And what I always love about Amari is that she never sinks to Laura's level, for instance. She always kind of like stands her ground, and because of that Laura has to like rise up to kind of get on Amari's level. And whereas like say with like Amari and Alise, like they kind of are on a level playing field because Alise never treats Amari differently and Amari never treats Alise differently. So it's kind of like we always have that the relationships between characters as I think one of the best things about like Baby Austin's writing style and the way he portrays them. They just always play off really well with one another.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I also really loved Amari's relationship with her family.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, her love for her brother and her brother's love for her. And even when her and her mom weren't seeing eye to eye at the beginning, you could just tell that they would do anything for each other. And I just feel like I don't read very many middle grade and YA where you get a happy family. It's a lot of, you have to have that dysfunction so that you can have the rebellion. And I really like that he didn't fall into that. And he was like, no, I'm going to show a family that's just doing their best and loving each other their best.
You really do see when Quentin disappears how that tears apart the mum. And like, I feel like, as you said, like in middle grade especially, a lot of the times the parents are missing or they're dead or like they're just not really involved. And yes, like the mum is kind of removed from the main story, but like it's quite believable in the way that they do it, like Baby Austin does it. But when you say beforehand how like say like Amari can hear her mum crying down the hall, or she has this like really deep family root with her, that you can really tell Amari's motivation to get to the bureau is to find her brother so that she can, fix her family. Like that's always her ultimate goal. She doesn't want power. She doesn't want to, she is like interested in all the magic and stuff. She finds it really cool, but she says like very early on, like, this is my goal. This is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it. And she does it, it's like, yeah, I just love that family was always the heart of Amari rather than just like something that's like an obstacle for Amari to overcome to go on this adventure, which is always, 9 times out of 10 the case in middle grade.
I think another thing that I really like that he, like I said, this series so far has so much nostalgia to it. There's so much that I feel like feels like a middle grade, that feels like a lot of other stories, but it does a lot of things really uniquely that makes it totally its own and a really exciting new story. But one of the things, again, that he doesn't do that nearly every other story like this does is, once again, it's not a school full of incompetent adults so that the kids can have a reason. Yeah, it's a system that's broken and people in power that are misusing that power. And then you have adults that are on their side but can only do so much. And that's the way they move. And I just really appreciate that, again, he just goes deeper. He doesn't use the same old easy reasons to make the plot work. And I think he did so well.
No, and that adds on to just the way, like, nothing was ever obvious. Like, for example, Amari was bullied in the normal world and in the more fantasy world. Right. And you realize, like, obviously this is a problem and you feel bad for her, but he doesn't allow her to just be a victim. It's like she learns, like we hear it through Quentin, especially at the end of the first book, where he's like, look, this is all in you. If you want to stop this, you have to change your mindset. and realize how powerful you're literally one of the most powerful people ever. And yet somehow you're allowing people not beneath you, but who aren't as strong as you to make you feel small. And so I like the way that he structured everything in this book, where it's not just like this open, oh, poor Amari. It's like, yes, poor Amari, but also Amari is Queen Amari, and she needs to see that if she wants all of this to stop. So I agree with what you're saying. All those like subtle things just made it such a strong story.
Yeah, and I think especially with the target audience being for like a younger reader as well, I feel like so many kids reading it will take so much from it and feel so inspired and empowered to, you know, look beyond what is trying to hold them back. And when you like say a character like Amari not let anything hold her back and to continue going forward is like so inspiring, but also like the friendship she has with Alise and being able to find strength in friendship and love and family. And yeah, the themes of it were just impeccable and like so prevalent to I know it's fantasy, but like it reads so real, you know, it reads so real. And like what I love about fantasy is when you can think, oh, this is believable, you know, and the way that the characters are done, the way that we're kind of given these kind of inspirational like tidbits and stuff that really felt like it didn't feel condescending. It didn't feel like it was just placed in a way like, oh, like that was like so transparent, you know. It was always part of the journey of the characters, and you can see that, oh, that makes sense and that fits, you know. It didn't feel out of place.
Can we talk about Elise's moment when she held off everybody in the hall and she didn't go dragon?
Oh yeah.
But I'm so proud of her.
Yeah.
It's so nice to see these little victories for so many characters. I really just rooted everyone on. Even Dylan. I was like, even after he betrayed her, I was like, okay, but you're gonna be good in the next book, right? Like, and even Laura, I was like, okay, now she sees how her mentality has harmed so many people. So you're gonna be good in the next book, right? You know?
I have a question. Well, I wanted to know what you both thought about the part where Laura, they're at that little ghost event festival, and Laura's about to beat up Amari, and then she uses that dark magic to make her have that memory about like, or her greatest fear. Did you all think that was a bad time to use that? I had very mixed feelings about that, because I know I get it. It was a horrible thing to picture. I wouldn't want it. I wouldn't want to deal with it. But given that she was about to punch her in the face, and she's constantly been bullying this girl, I don't know if I felt like it was like the worst thing ever, but the book took it very seriously. So I wanted to know y'all's thoughts on that.
You're right. It does seem like, okay, well, I mean, you were about to be assaulted, so you can defend yourself here. I don't know. I guess I didn't think about that, but that's a really good point, Elise.
Yeah, it is, especially since throughout the book as well, Amari's always told that she has like an anger issue, or like she needs to like control her emotions and control her anger. And I feel like it was kind of a moment where I guess Amari did kind of control like her physical anger and stuff, but yeah, I know what you mean, but yeah, I didn't think about that. But I do love the idea of Baby Alston kind of trying to convey like that kind of standing your ground, that strength, and kind of pushing back, I guess. But yeah, that was a good question.
Yeah, but if you're about to be physically assaulted, then is standing your ground good enough with a bleeding nose, or should you like do something to make them not assault you?
That's true. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, like I guess, man, you're like that's a really good point, Elise, because if she had done something to physically push Laura back or something and it had caused her harm, then that could be more of a discussion. But she didn't, and it's not like mental trauma is not also
very true.
Something horrible. Yeah. But it was self-defense. So that's a really good point.
It does, but I guess maybe Baby Alston like did that in a way to make us think that when Dylan presents her the option of doing like the dark magic and stuff, it kind of like that kind of moment maybe would hold to that, and like, oh, Amari does have maybe like a little bit of a dark side that she might explore, and Yeah, maybe
Okay.
maybe it
Yeah,
was just
that
like
makes sense.
planting those kinds of seeds, maybe. But
That
I
makes
didn't
sense.
think about it. But I think so. Like,
Especially because there's probably something that she could have done to violently
Yeah.
defend herself in not using dark magic.
yeah.
And the fact that she pulled on dark magic first in that moment, I guess maybe that's kind of what he was trying to emphasize.
Nope, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, that is a really good point. Now I need to think about that.
We need to reread. I need to read it for a fifth time.
What did you guys think about the ending with Moreau? Did you feel like... I felt like that was the one weak point of the book just because it felt rushed.
I agree.
It's okay. We all loved it. We can have a couple negatives.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, there was I will say it was very creative. I love the way that it actually, or my understanding is it was never Moreau in that jail cell, right? In the prison. It was always,
An illusion.
yes, okay. So I thought all that was super creative. But yes, it was like this man has been around for all these years, causing all this destruction. And then this one boy just does one thing and he's gone. Granted, I get it. He's a lot older and he's been through a lot more. But it did happen so fast. I thought there would be a little bit more and that Dylan just all of a sudden can supersede everything that he's done was kind of like, but... The lead up to that was really good, so I think I kind of was like, I can forgive it, but I did feel like that was kind of a weak point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think, go ahead.
No, I was going to say I can kind of say that maybe with Dylan was kind of maybe his love for Amari was kind of something that really like powered him through and pushed him through, and that kind of made the ending feel like a little bit rushed. I don't know what Baby Alston was like wanting to do with that whole scene and stuff, but I think with Dylan kind of feeling like Amari would be in too much danger if he didn't do something would kind of contributed to it like happening. But I know what you mean, like it did happen like way too quickly and it resolved so quickly. But I think that's actually like a problem with like a lot of middle grade books. Actually, it's like I read so many of them that I feel like the endings always like kind of wrap up a little bit too, and I feel like maybe the second book also, but like that's one for another time. But I feel like that's also like a little bit rushed a little bit, but I don't know. I don't want to jump ahead.
No, I completely agree. I think he gave like a one-line explanation as to why Dylan was able to overpower him, and that was because their magic calls to each other. So when they're together, their magic is stronger.
Oh, yeah, true.
And it's like, okay, good. There's an explanation there. I'm happy for that. But maybe we could have introduced that sooner. Maybe we could have explored that a little bit deeper and not kind of feel like a tag on at the end to explain it. But I mean, it is a small fuss for me. It's not a big one.
Yeah, I think the first time I read it, I was trying to get my jaw off the floor because, again, I didn't see Dylan's betrayal. You know, like, this is why
it was such a good scene.
I'm just a bit, I don't know. Maybe I'm too, like, trusting because, like, even when I was rereading it, the first thing Amari got when she got this spell book and, like, the first thing that Dylan gives her and she opens it and she sees the front page, it says, don't trust anyone at face value. And that's, like, the first thing she sees when Dylan gives her this thing. And I'm just like, why didn't I say that before? Maybe it's, I was just too blissfully unaware. Because I was genuinely really rooting for them to, like, be this, like, really powerful kind of team, but I was just shook. I was shook the first time. I think the rest of it went by in the blink of an eye, but I'm glad that we got kind of an answer to Quentin at the end, like where he was, because I genuinely thought that this would be dragged out, like we wouldn't know anything to do with Quentin for a good few books, but no, I feel like a lot was revealed at the end and a lot was shown at the end, that it was kind of just boom, 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 and we kind of just had to sit there and take it and be like, oh, okay, everything's been revealed now, everything's kind of happening now, and then it was over. But that just made me like so excited for the second book, and I was, the fact that we had to wait so long for the second book, I mean, it's not too long, but it felt like so long.
Amber, Alise, and we got to go right into it.
I know, I was like,
How dare. So rude.
We planned it perfectly.
You guys did to me. But now you have to wait for book 3. So I guess we're on the same boat now.
Now we can suffer with you this time. No, I don't know. I don't really have much to complain about. I thought that the world was really inventive and so fun. I thought the characters were so well fleshed out and they each had their own individual journeys. And I feel like Amari, just as a protagonist, her motivation and her determination and her learning to accept herself along the way, like, my goodness, there's so many things that this book did so well.
No, I agree. I feel like because I've read it 4 times, it was like literally my favorite middle grade book of, when did I read it? I think I read it in 2020, end of 2020, and I still had to keep revisiting this world. It's not just one that I feel like you'd want to read just the once. And I don't know about you guys, but like it's one that you could probably read like multiple times coming up.
Oh yeah.
It's just
definitely.
I just feel like it's just so inventive, and like, I mean, you can compare it to like Men in Black, but it's not quite Men in Black. You can compare it to Harry Potter, but it's not quite Harry Potter. Nevermore, but not quite Nevermore. It's its own thing. Like you can maybe compare it to something, but it's not quite that. It's its own thing, and that's what I love about like this book so much. It's carved its own like little path, and I can see this being even bigger when it becomes a movie or a TV show, and like things in the future when like everybody else just kind of jumps on. It would be incredible.
Me too.
It would be such a good animated movie. Like if Disney or Pixar or DreamWorks wanted to pick that up, oh my goodness, please do.
I agree. But they better do it justice.
Yeah, for real. For real. So, did you guys, do you have any other scene or character that you want to talk about before we finish with this?
Gosh. I can't remember now.
That's okay. I have a lot more I want to talk about in book 2.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot that was in book 2. I just want to say that I just want to give the author a lot of credit because, I mean, and there's a lot of men and women who write about the opposite gender, but I think he did a really great job of captivating the feelings of a young girl and putting it in a manner that was just, I think Gavin said it well, like very relatable. And I felt like he just did the character so much justice. And Bookish Realm said this, and I feel the same way. I would have loved having something like this growing up. So I'm really glad that this is on the shelves for a lot of girls, all kinds of girls and guys to relate to. But I think there's so much about this that's just magical. And I'm so glad that I read it. And I will be reading it again for sure.
Yay.
Yes. This is immediately going on the shelf of books to read with my kids in a few years. It's such a good one.
And this was Baby Olsen's debut as well. Like this was his first ever book. Like,
isn't that wild?
Yeah, honestly.
Yes.
Yeah, you wouldn't think it, but it's seasoned. It's just everything.
Oh, wow.
Honestly, I feel like this was.
I
feel like I think Baby Olsen said like this was the book of his heart, but this was the book of his dreams. So I feel like you can really tell.
It.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
You can really tell. You can really tell with Amari. So yeah, I totally agree with you, Alise.
That's so cool.
Awesome. All right. Well, that was our spoiler discussion for Amari.
Yay.
And next week on Tuesday, we'll be discussing spoilery Amari and the Great Game. And not to hype it too much, but I think I enjoyed this one more than book 1. You did too? Gavin, what team are you on?
I'm not telling you. This is a cliffhanger. This is a cliffhanger. I'm not telling you until the next episode.
That's being a good YouTuber. Good job, I guess. Thank you all for joining us for the Amari discussion. Come back next week for book 2, and I will have Gavin and Amber Alise's channels linked in the description, so go subscribe to them immediately. And we will see you again next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.